Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. And besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fan fiction it inspires. Before we begin, just want to remind you to follow us wherever you listen so you don't miss any episodes or bonus content. If you love what we do and want an easy way to show your support, please consider leaving us a positive, that's all the stars, rating on your favourite listening platform. It helps SPN and fanfic lovers find us and share in the fun. I'm Kasey.
I'm Sandra, and I can't remember what we're supposed to be talking about today.
I'm having what do they call that now?
You know what we're doing? We're doing a Tags and Tropes episode, and we're talking about Amnesia.
Oh, yeah. Well done. That was clever. I like that.
That was Jared being like, "Come on."
That was clever. I like that.
Come on, this is the thing. This thing we're gonna do. But yes, we are doing another Tags and Tropes, and this trope in particular is a little prickly because going into this, we can already safely say that this is not one of our favorite fics to read.
Yes.
And that would be
It's
Kasey.
It's me. Sandra has already been witness to me low-key yelling about the Regarding Dean episode of Supernatural, and she's been with Dreamer when I had like a full-on temper tantrum that involved like, how could you call yourself Dean, people? So I'm prickly about amnesia and memory loss and things like that. So it wasn't until I went to click on some fics that I was like, I don't want to read any of this. So I have no recommendations. I have not read any of the recommendations for this. I can safely say that this is a hard pass for me, but I still want to discuss it. I want to get into it with Sandra. I want to find out if she likes it, if she does, why. I'm going to be an adult and a professional about this.
Yes, and I want to thank Kasey for taking, wanting to do this thing, because I think one of the things when we originally started the idea of Tags and Tropes anyway was we do want to kind of get into stuff, that maybe we don't like or maybe we don't know enough about, and then dig into it and, just kind of come to a conclusion. We could say right off the bat, this is already established for Kasey. So yes, thanks for doing the thing. But
okay,
this is a popular fanfic trope. I mean, just and a story trope in general. I mean, we're talking about fiction. I mean, or like shows, anything. Try to find something that hasn't, used amnesia or something like that in some shape or form as a plot device. One of our Discord members, Fictional Lemons, is a huge fan of the trope and suggested we add it to the list way back. I had another joke in there. Would it be too cliche to say it slipped my mind? So I already kind of did this joke earlier. But we want to preface the discussion with, we try to follow the your kink is not my kink, and that's okay, kink tomato motto, but we may interject our personal squicks about any given tag or trope, but it's in no way meant to yuck anybody's yum. Amnesia. When you think about amnesia, like just and how it's used, what do you usually think of, Kasey?
So as we stand right now, I just think about Regarding Dean, which is pretty. This is a great episode for me.
Does it immediately like come to that when you think of it? Like,
yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
When I think of amnesia, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And then when I think about it further than that, because I was thinking about this when I was sort of prepping, guys. Like I opened this tab yesterday. I didn't read it, but I opened it yesterday. Come with like round of applause for Kasey being proactive.
Yes.
I was kind of thinking about like I'm probably gonna have to offer like some kind of explanation about why I'm like, oh god, no. So like just real quick, if you've been a long time listener, you'll know that I lost my mum when I was in my early 20s, and something like I've definitely discussed it on the show, and it's been in like outtakes. I think my temper tantrum actually is an outtake somewhere. Cassandra's like, is it okay if I release this? And I was like, yeah, I'm a big baby, it's fine, whatever. But I've really struggled over the past, like, it's been like 11 years now of, kind of like dealing with that and dealing with forgetting things in the way that your brain naturally does, you know, if something's not in your like day-to-day life, forgetting things. And like, you know, when like I said, I was very young, I was 22, and everybody's like, oh, you know, you'll always remember her and you'll never forget and blah, blah, blah. And then as time goes on and I can't conjure the sound of her voice anymore, and I can't, you know, like I can't see her face anymore. Like, you know, it's just kind of like, it's very bizarre. It's like a blank space in my mind. So if I have dreams, I know it's her, but she's like a blank kind of blur. It's not her. And she'll, you know, just like all the things that your brain doesn't remember if you don't remind it, you know, on a semi-regular basis. And it was really, really hammered home for me. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's a Pixar movie. Coco, the Pixar movie, Sandra.
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
So yeah, I saw that when I was hella pregnant with my youngest son. And you know, any of my pregnant peeps out there, you know that pregnancy makes your hormones go insane anyway, and especially towards the end. And you're just like you're big and you're tired and you're fed up and you're emotional. And I was at that stage. I was done with this. This baby needs to get out. Okay. And me and my husband took my eldest son to see that. And a sort of a big part of that movie is, you know, remembering the dead and what happens when they're not remembered and things like that. And there's a quote from Ernest Hemingway, which is, every man has two deaths: when he's buried in the ground and the last time someone says his name. In some ways, men can be immortal, but that has always stuck with me. My oldest was very young, so he does not remember his grandma. So I'm like the last bastion, you know, when I go, I will be the last person that remembers my mother. And that fucking that scene in Coco.
Yeah, that one's gut wrenching. My mom and I were just, yeah.
I was in the cinema. I was in public, bawling like a toddler who dropped his biscuit.
That was bad. Real. Yeah, it was bad.
It was grim. You know, and then like for weeks afterwards, I was like, will I meet her in the afterlife? You know, like, do I get a grace period before she's forgetting, or will she be gone before I get that? You know, that's kind of like, I have a lot of trauma surrounding like amnesia and the loss of memories. And things like that. And as well, when you go through traumatic events, your brain holds on to the bad things a lot better than it does the, you know, the good things. I don't know why that is, but when I conjure my mum, if I can conjure her, I see her after she's already deceased. I can't conjure her as an alive person. The images that I have are the very traumatic ones from after she was deceased. So I have a lot of issues with that. So yeah, when I think of amnesia, you know, I think about regarding Dean. I think about the Pixar movie Coco. I think about my own issues, but then I also think as a writing kind of tool, I think it's been used as like a shorthand for comedy in a lot of shows that I kind of find lazy. I guess. Okay. But equally, I've read some fics, and it's a great equalizer. It depends on how you treat the subject matter. Right. I think is the most important. Yeah. But I've read some fics that have treated it like, you know, like a blank slate for the boys, and they don't remember what happened, so they can go ahead and kind of start fresh. And I've never read a fanfic that's treated it as, oh, Dean doesn't remember this. Ha ha! Isn't that funny? Right. I've always handled very sensitively in fanfic. But yeah, once if I can like shoulder through my own personal trauma, right, I mostly associate it with like sitcoms hyped up for laughs kind of thing. Okay. I don't associate it with the seriousness that I'm pleased to see in fanfic. So what do you think when you think about it? Do you also think of regarding Dean?
Well, I mean, if I'm talking about like just amnesia, like in general, TV or whatever, like for me, it's always like the soap operas where like, you know, somebody gets into an accident and they, you know, they lose their memory, and, you know, they come back and they have to be taught, or like, you know, there's this angst, you know, revolving around, or they just, again, I've seen lots of movies too, like, you know, that kind of like, you know, they don't have any recollection of anything. So they get to kind of like create a brand new persona, or or they see things in a different way or in a different light, or it brings about like a revelation to them that they maybe normally wouldn't have had. So that kind of a situation. So I think for me, it's like, I probably think very soap opera in terms of like plot device and how that's used.
It's a very, very sort of quick way of manufacturing angst and drama.
Yeah.
I think it's quite realistic as well. Anybody can just get into an accident, can hit their head, things like that. And I know there's kind of like stories that float around every so often of like people that do get into accidents, lose their memory, and they fall in love with their spouse all over again. Which is like, that's touching. That's really heartwarming. But, I'm going to be such a killjoy this episode. I'm so sorry. As someone who has experienced a family member that had dementia, and I have family members that are currently going through dementia with other family members and stuff like that, it is truly horrifying to watch that unfold with somebody into, it's like, obviously soap operas, sitcoms, stuff like that, they're not meant to be realistic, really, and they're meant to be a distraction, but I think it's when you've lived things like that, it's quite hard to see the humor in it, which is a lot of my issues. Like my trauma with regarding Dean is the mirror scene. I find that really, really hard to watch. But then after that, when Dean and Rowena come down the stairs and Dean jokes with Sam, like, oh, who's this guy? And you see Sam kind of, it's like that Simpsons bit. If you rewind it, you can see the minute his heart breaks. That's, I think until you've been close to somebody who has gone through that and doesn't, truly doesn't remember your face, doesn't remember who you are, it becomes infinitely less funny.
Gotcha.
Infinitely less funny. And I'm like, within the context of Supernatural, that's Dean's way of kind of dealing with the tension of the moment. He's not going to go down and be like, oh my God, Sam, you saved me. Thank you so much. They're not going to do that. They're not going to have a chick flick. He's going to, he's going to make a joke and Sam's going to grit his teeth. But I'd find it quite difficult to watch.
Yeah, I get it. It's all. Yeah. I mean, it again, like not everything is for everyone. So I think just to kind of like ground it too in the fact that, because when it's used in fiction, like you said, the real pain and fear is glossed over, so it can be hand waved to a certain point, depending on how you write it. And the point of the trope is creating angst, hurt, comfort. So I would assume a lot of people who like that, who write that might use this device, or like how I was saying, you have the character reevaluate their life, by giving them sort of an outside perspective of what's going on. Like, if they can look at it with new eyes, they might see something different that they couldn't see, in any other way. This gives them, they don't have any choice but to step back and see it. So, and I think too,
kind of in a way of like, you could maybe attribute It's a Terrible Life as well. Because it makes, Sam can get the memories back. They get the memories back, but then they also have the memories of the time at Sandover, and it, you kind of like reevaluate things. Like you say, it people get a fresh perspective. You can, what you've lost, and who you were when you lost it, and you can kind of maybe shuffle some things around and get a better sense of perspective and a better sense of self as well. Who are you when you're not you? Because I think that is interesting.
And I think if you take like It's a Terrible Life, like the fact that Sam in that situation, Sam Wesson in that situation, was the one that was very interested in, ghosts and supernatural stuff. And, I think Dean Smith was a little bit more resistant, but then once he got into it, he was like, oh, we do the things and this is kind of cool. And like, so this different evaluation of what this life is like to come back to it.
It's interesting to look at who Sam could have been if he wasn't forced into it. He'd have still been a kick-ass hunter. He'd have still been a kick-ass researcher. He'd have still been all of those things, but he would have been willing.
Yeah.
And that fundamentally changes who he is, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. And I think when we talk about it in terms of fiction, and again, I'm taking this information from the fan lore page on Amnesia, and we'll provide links and the whole description and the doc that, I kind of put together. But
It's an excellent doc. It's got tables and everything.
When there's a relationship aspect to two characters, right? Like, it sort of strips away that, oh, well, we shouldn't. Well, like that kind of a thing. And I think that goes right into Wincest and a couple, like probably lots of different ships, things like that, where, and we have a couple of examples of them too, where it's like they don't have that barrier anymore and they're rebuilding and they're seeing each other in a different way.
That's a pretty common trope for one of them to, I know I've certainly seen a fair few fics where Dean loses his memory and assumes that Sam is his spouse because who else would be that close to him?
Yeah.
I will say I'm gonna be a killjoy again. I think in a similar way to Omegaverse, it brings up its own inherent consent issues.
Right.
That you can choose to address or not address. Not every Omegaverse fic is dripping in, dubious consent and things like that. But it does, like if you remove somebody's memory, somebody's perspective, can they truly consent? Is it the same as engaging in activities with someone who is intoxicated or under the influence? They don't necessarily fully comprehend what they're doing. So, and again, that could be hand waved for fiction, but in real life, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
No,
I wish I could be more enthusiastic.
This is good because, like I said, that's the whole reason that we did this too. We started this because it's like, I mean, you made a good point too. Like when we did the Omegaverse, like it's just kind of not my thing, right? Like, but like I got a chance in that situation. I explored it a little bit more. I was like, yeah, no, it's really kind of like it's not my thing kind of a situation. It's fine. Like I said, we're just talking about different aspects of it. I highlighted another part called Canon Amnesia, and it says many fandoms provide instances of amnesia in canon. We just talked about a couple, which can or may make it easier for fans to use the trope in episode tag fics, or to use canon mechanisms that produce the amnesia that wouldn't work in real life, such as magic, mind-wiping technology, or other handy sci-fi devices. Luckily for us, Supernatural is all about magic and all of these kinds of things. So it fits right into the wheelhouse of Supernatural just in general. I don't even think in canon you could even say that stretches suspension of disbelief when you're talking about Supernatural.
Not even,
but in other instances, it could be a situation for lots of different fandoms that, don't have that as their sort of like, this is my shortcut. I think that's what I love the most about the fantasy aspect of Supernatural is that you really can just do anything. And it's like, well, this could be plausible. This is a thing that could happen. Even in the show, like if you wanted to, be that person that kind of like goes a little canon divergent, and you could still use a lot of things that would still make sense in that world and wouldn't be that crazy of a reach or a thing. So I think Amnesia is on the very okay, so we're going to get into really problematic stuff.
Yay.
Season 7, Time for a Wedding. I mean, the mind,
I don't know if that's amnesia so much,
but it's manipulation in a way of his
mind
memories
manipulation
of how he sees Becky or his relationship with Becky, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that does, because you can see
potions bring their own consent issues. Right. Do not love potion without consent.
You can see there's a scene, right? Like in there where like you can see it starting to wear off. And you could see him having this panic moment of like, what's going on? Where am I? What are we doing here? So yes.
And she just doses him and it's fine.
Doses him again. So I think the consent part is definitely understood that this is not a thing, in certain situations. I think it's more maybe how it's used in the fic and by whom, which I think kind of then that's the stage with how it ends, or like how there's is there a happy ever after because of the circumstances that again strip away the concerns or the qualms or the hesitation and give people a chance to see. That's how I like to look at it. And I think the reevaluation or the outsider POV I do not like the idea of like using it in a way that's, you're not giving you're taking away somebody's consent. So I think there's definitely instances of that. And
I will say there certainly is humor to be had in it. Like, I'm somebody that has to play ADHD charades a lot. And sometimes it's really frustrating. Sometimes it is really frustrating. But sometimes it's funny as well. Sometimes I can laugh about it. And I know I don't speak for every neurodivergent person on the planet, but sometimes when I finally get the word out, I'm like, what the fuck was that? You know? And like, I find it difficult to be objective about regarding Dean, but like the start of it when he's just forgetting like lamp and coat hook and, you know, like what he's coming up with to substitute the gaps in his memory, it's a little bit funny, you know?
Yeah.
A little bit. Like Mystery Spot. Like the whole thing about Mystery Spot isn't funny, but the deaths are a little bit funny, you know, just a little bit. Yeah, like I said, from the few fanfics I've read, it's been handled so much more sensitively in fandom than it ever was in the show, whether it was regarding Dean, It's a Terrible Life, that fucking episode in season 7.
So all that to say, it's used quite a lot, and it kind of falls into a lot of different categories on AO3. So I did my little bit of research on AO3. So this is back on like June 21st, 2025. At that point, there were 15,240,000 fics on AO3. It's kind of crazy every time I go back and look to do one of these research episodes to see how it slowly keeps ticking up. So the number of fics with amnesia were over 45,000, memory loss over 43,000, and temporary amnesia over 12,000. So across all fandoms, there were 102,000 fics that had these tags in them. So that's about, it's only 0.6%, but in comparison to other things I've done research on, this is still a pretty high up there. Probably not as high up as, say, like Omegaverse and all those other things, but it's a decent amount. Again, the tags I talked about, amnesia, memory loss, temporary amnesia, they're used the most often by creators to cover kind of like all these bases. Memory related is a canonical tag, so it's a master tag for a group of synonyms for concepts such as memory alteration and memory magic. So you might also see that, you know, things are kind of grouped up that way, but I focused on the three tags: amnesia, memory loss, temporary amnesia. Supernatural and Supernatural RPF, very different in terms of the tags they used. You know, how many in Supernatural at the time of recording this, and when I checked, there were 305,079 total fics. 2,195 contained one of the mentioned tags. Supernatural RPF, 23,261, 98. So I guess they don't feel the need to use it as much in Supernatural RPF as Supernatural fandom fics. So I did a pullout of like ratings, warnings, categories, characters, relationships, additional tags. For each of those three, I just focused on Supernatural, not RPF. So, I mean, I don't know, Kasey, like just scanning through anything in those sections in the doc, if there was kind of like anything that jumped out at you.
I found interesting that the two sort of highest like the two most popular ratings was teen and explicit. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, I mean, I don't know. Writing a teen fic about memory loss just feels like stabbing myself in the gut. I'm like, that is not even dicks to make this better, guys. You know, that did strike me as quite interesting. Top relationships for each of those tags is Destiel, and then Wincest, which is that's kind of interesting. Apart from that, I wasn't expecting like it to be like not quite the lowest, but you know, like the lowest and the highest in terms of explicitness or spiciness, if you will. I wasn't expecting it to be those to be the most popular. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting teen. But yeah, no, that just feels like stabbing myself in the gut for no reason.
I remember doing a podfic of JDL's Demon Deals, and that one you could consider teen, or it might have been rated mature, but I don't think so. If it was rated mature, it might have been just for language. But I mean, in that one, you know, that's a situation where Dean makes a sacrifice, makes a deal for Sam Sam's memory to be wiped because he thinks that's going to be a better thing for him. So like, there's certain situations where I could see why they're, doing these things, not for the best reasons, like where they think they're for good reasons and they end up not being good reasons. I've seen it a lot and I've used it a lot in my writing, like when I look back at it too.
Yeah.
I do like it, I think, for that something's new again, or how do you get somebody back together again kind of a situation. Like I find that an interesting way to sever a connection so that then you have to figure out how is that going to come back. And if it does come back, does it come back the same way? Are the feelings still the same? Or, because of what's happened. So it's that kind of like, it's that melodrama, part of it that I think for me, again, pulling it out of not focusing on the real pain and fear that does cause, it gets back to the,
and that's totally fine in fiction. That's escapism in fiction is totally valid, and I'm totally in with it. It's just for me personally, this is one of those things that just pokes a little bit too close. Yeah, and I can't separate it like that. A lot of other shit, like the consent issues in Omegaverse, I can see them and I can be like, but I can push it to one side for fiction. But again, having lived this and personally having extensive trauma with it, I'm like,
it makes sense too, because again, like we're already like Omegaverse, so in and of itself is such a fantastical like situation, right? Like I think sometimes Supernatural can really dig into the feels a lot more and kind of like takes you by surprise when you get into it. But if you're talking about this thing that's already very fantastical and in and of itself, like Omegaverse, there's so many parts of it that you suspend disbelief to put yourself in that alternate reality situation, that I think it's understandable where
you're already there with Omegaverse, aren't you? You're already like, okay, I've suspended a lot of disbelief to get here, so that's just one more thing on the pile. This is really just kind of like this can hit home for a lot of people, which is totally understandable. I haven't read a lot of Amnesia fics, but I was thinking about this for all my visceral dislike of this trope. Like an original fiction book series that I really love. Like one of my favorite characters in that book series, it's a series of books. Each book is focused on a different character. It's a big overarching world. It's called The Black Dagger Brotherhood by J.R. Ward. If you haven't read it, read it. It's the fucking bottom right. There's like about 20 odd books. Not important. Anyway, one of my favorite main characters from that, he has, no, it's not really so much amnesia now.
Is it like memory recall, or like if something like changed with his memory?
I feel like I remember. It's not him. He makes, in effect, a deal with the deity of that world for his soulmate who is dying. And he makes a deal to save her. And the deity says, I will grant this, but you can never contact her again. You can never go near her again. And I feel like in the book, it says that she will have no memory of you. Because I feel like that part must have been crucial to the deal, because otherwise she would just turn up in his life.
Right.
But that is what happens. He signs, well, it doesn't sign, but he agrees this deal and he goes away to mourn her because he can never, see her. He's a vampire. That's not important. But he goes away to mourn her, and she like turns up as he's mourning her, and he fucking panics, and he's like, I swear to God, I didn't contact her. I didn't do anything. I didn't break the terms of this. Because the deity is like, if you go to her, if you contact her in any way, she'll die. This is on you. It's like a life for a life kind of thing. Yeah. He will never truly be complete without her. And he gives that up for her. And I swear to God, I feel like it must be in there somewhere that she will not remember him. But she does. She turns up and he freaks out. He's like, I didn't do anything. And she's like, no, she came. It's fine. This can be, you know? And now I'm thinking about it. I haven't read that book in a long time. And I wonder how my feelings on that would change were I to go back and read it now. And I'm going to have to go back and read it now. Yeah. Because I swear to fucking God, a part of it was that she wouldn't remember him.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, it would have to, right? Like for the angst, to bring the angst to that too, like you've got to have that. You've got to have that part of that,
I feel like that was a crucial part of this. But I don't know, she wakes up and she she remembers, and she's fully cured and healed and something, and she goes to him, and that makes it all okay. But I would be interested to read that again and sort of see how my feelings lie on it. I'm thinking now as well about Lisa and Ben. As well, and that kind of thing, because I'm sitting.
They use it so much, and it's and that was that hurts, right? Like, and then like I don't ever want to talk about it again, and I'll
punch you. Yeah, no, I'll break your jaw. Yeah, because I'm thinking, and I might be getting my myths or something confused, and I genuinely might be mixing up like the Lisa and Ben and Dean's demon deal, but I swear to God, I feel like there's a trope where a memory is removed, and if honestly, I could be thinking of Wash, to be fair. A memory is removed, and the person, like the deity or the demon or the whatever that grants this says, like, if you tell them like what I've done, if you remind them who you are, I'll kill them. And I don't know if I'm just mixing up like my demon deal with Amnesia, because Dean didn't want Sam to know. Yeah, because I can hear it. Like, if I welch on the deal, you die. But I don't know. Like, is that a fairy tale trope? Somebody help me. Yeah. Am I just misremembering a whole bunch of like lore from various places?
It could be. It could be a bunch of different fics. It could be the fact that I've used this twice. So you could be. That's not what happens in Wash, though. Dean doesn't say if he is Dean told if he reminds.
No.
But in some,
let's dive into that. Sandra's done this in Wash, Rinse, Repeat, and I'm going to try and remember what the fuck it was she did in Some Sunny Day. Is it that they met and somebody didn't remember it, or like, refresh my memory? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sunny Day's huge.
As you pointed out to me one day, you're like, this thing is almost like 300,000 words. I'm like, oh yes, I think it might be over 300,000 words now.
Yeah, you were going on about how long Dandelion Dreaming's rookie series was, and I was like, you don't think Sunny Day's that far off, and you were like, it is. And I went and looked it up, and I'm like, nah, they're pretty close.
Yeah. So
that's in like several novels worth. Just
in my Some Sunny Day series, so it's Dean and its original female character Julie, and so
secretly Sandra,
but they go through this whole arc of like stuff like post series kind of a thing, and it's in the second, like, I guess you could say, novel in the series. It's in The Hunter Who Loved Me, and it's where Julie actually finds out that her fiance, ex-husband, it's a whole thing. You got to read it if you're really that interested.
You got to read it. It's fucking bitchin'. You got to read it. It's awesome.
Did a demon deal that kind of like made sure she would end up marrying him because she was very upset with something that occurred, and kind of like, I guess, manipulated her mind in a way. But then, so it's kind of like almost a little bit of mind wipe. But then he comes back. There's a whole big thing. And part of his deal, his second demon deal, is to have Julie's mind wiped of Dean. So it's this whole thing where he has to make a decision. Rowena comes into it. It's really pretty good. I kind of was proud of myself with how this worked itself out.
You should be hella proud of all of it, but yes.
Where Dean has to make a choice where, in order to get her sort of like out of like this sort of like coma situation, he's got to take the risk that, she does in fact love him as much, kind of like a Sleeping Beauty, Snow White kind of a deal, right? Like that kind of a thing where she could wake up and still not have any memory of him. He would still have all of, like, he's got all the memories and all that, but she's kind of like, she's not only does she not have the memories, but she's probably not going to want to have anything to fucking do with you. And you're going to have to deal with the angst of that. So that might be where you're getting that part. But in Wash, my other series, Wash, Rinse, Repeat, Dean and an original female character, in that one, he inadvertently, when he makes the demon deal to save Sam, the demon nicely puts in a little, oh, and by the way, Elle's memory of you is gone. So then Dean takes it upon himself to say, like, look, this is her clean slate. I don't want her to have to deal with any of my shit. So if we do run into her, I don't want it to be a thing where, like, she's not going to have any memory of me. I want to keep it that way. And I'm probably going to be a big jerk to her just to make sure she has no interest.
She didn't want to dig.
She doesn't want anything. But then she does end up getting her memory after a certain, thing of events. And it's a whole other thing too. So yes, I like this for all of those melodramatic reasons in a story like that, because I feel like it gives it gives that sort of like, what is going to happen if I make this choice for this person? How are they going to see me? Are they going to see me differently, or are they going to see me in the way I think they always probably should have seen me, because I'm not deserving and all that thing. You know, this kind of stuff that Dean's always all about too. So
it's so Dean. Sandra writes Dean like a fucking champ. But anyway, Sandra, I love Sandra's Dean, but it's so Dean. It's so canon compliant Dean. It's Sandra's Dean. It's so Dean to just throw himself on the fucking pyre.
Sacrificing,
like,
right? Over and over and over again.
Burning for no reason.
And it's
He's
like, you
shut up.
really don't have to go this hard, my dude.
Yeah.
Like, you really don't. But, you know, he does. And I think
you kind of wonder if he likes the pyre's flames at that point, because he's so willing to throw himself on it. And like, genuinely, Sam's there, especially in Wash, Sam's there like, you don't. What are you doing? You could we can just tell her. There will be no repercussions if we just tell her. And he's like, tell her and I'll punch your fucking face in.
Because I think, again, like, you know, it just comes back to, I'm not deserving. I don't. And I think both of the boys are like that in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to like the possibilities or what ifs outside of, you know, hunting, or like in Sam's case, you know, with all of the, you know, unfortunately, all of the stuff he's had to deal with over the years, and all of the fact-based situations that have occurred with people that he's, you know, wanted to try and build a life with, like what's happened. I think after a while he gets gun shy too. So like in certain situations, like you could see how they just don't feel that they're worthy enough to even try in another situation. So
I just thought of another amnesia moment in the show. Or mind wipe, I guess. Sam's wall in 7. Well, 6 and 7. Yeah, that's very. Maybe that's where I'm getting my "if you find out, you'll die." I don't. Somebody, seriously, somebody hit me up in the comments. Is that some kind of like fairy tale trope? Like, please, it's really insistently in my brain that is like, oh, you know,
might be Sleeping Beauty.
Is it Sleeping Beauty?
I think it's Sleeping
Beauty.
Beauty.
That if someone tells her, she'll die. Hang on, I have to Google this. Just wait right there, guys.
I mean, I know she's got. It's this thing where if she pricks her finger, if she pricks her finger on something, she goes to sleep.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's like, if they warn her.
The fairies don't tell her who she is, though. I don't know if that's necessarily amnesia. They hide her identity from her because they feel like then I think that's going to bring her, like, that's going to put her in danger, because then Maleficent's going to find where she is and stuff. Maybe that's what that is. Maybe that's what you're thinking about. All this stuff has come from somewhere, some folklore, some legend, some stuff. So it's like, we're just like recycling it and coming up with different ways to use it, which I think is kind of like just intriguing about like the way people use tropes and things in general when they're writing, which I think is why this one for me is kind of a big one. Did you find it?
I'm looking at different things, because there's a story where she's cursed to sleep and a fairy
she pricks her finger. Yeah.
Well, no, there's the
original
one where the fairy puts everything to sleep.
Right. That happens in the movie too.
Does that happen in that one?
Yeah. After she pricks her finger and she falls into a deep sleep, then they kind of put everything to sleep
and they put everything in stasis
until the prince comes back and, like, you know, just does all the things to wake her up, and then everything comes back to life. Everything wakes up again.
There's a few versions of it, to be fair.
I mean, again, I could probably keep going forever on this, but
I'm going to ruminate on this. I swear to God, it'll be like 3 a.m. and I'll message Sandra and be like, it was this story that did that. But I'll ruminate on this because my brain's really, really stuck to it.
In the description, I put in a couple of like links to some old live journal stuff that I found, which is like some Wincest and some J2s. So there might be more J2s from way back than what eventually made its way onto AO3. But for certain other picks that I just chose, and again, Fictional Lemons loves this trope, so I picked 2 of Lemon's works. That the first one that I really loved that I found, one of the first works of hers that I read, was Leaving Las Vegas. This is a double amnesia thing. Both Sam and Dean get whammied, lose their memory of being related, anything. They wake up, you know, and what do they think they are? Presumably spouses, and it's just this thing. I might have read that actually, where they kind of
there's a robin outside my window. I'm sorry, guys. I was the literal definition of ADHD squirrel.
So they they end, they end up
Sorry, carry on.
they end up too, like, you know, they come to this conclusion that, oh yeah, we have to be spouses. And then
Why else would we be so close? Yeah.
So then it opens up all of this possibility. And then of course there's the guilt when they find out, but then they decide to come back together. Anyway, it's sweet. It's funny. There's some nice sex scenes in there. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that it's just a very
familiar.
I really loved it. It was such a romancy novel writing for someone who is a romance novelist. And I love that Lemons writes that way. And I think the other one that I mentioned was Put Us Back Together at Heart. And that was from their Wincest Big Bang 2024 entry.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the one where it's college era, right? Stanford era. And it's where Dean's lost his memory, comes back to find Sam, and falls in love with Sam. And it's this whole thing. And it's just all this, like, you know, we can't, you know, like, you know, Sam doesn't really like give away the details right away, but then, you know, he does. It's a whole thing. It's great. You got to read that one too. The other one that I wanted,
I don't. You guys do.
Yeah,
I don't.
No. When I say you, I'm not talking about Kasey having to read this.
Communal you.
The other
Y'all
one,
listeners.
The other one that I read that I really adored by Princess Misery 86 was Samnesia, and that's
I've
Sam,
heard good things about this.
That's Sam with an original female character, and in this instance, it's the original female character that gets struck with this amnesia where she doesn't remember her life with Sam. So Sam has to figure out, it's a whole like mystery thing, has to find a way to get her to, you know, I guess he has to deal with it too, right? Like if he has to make certain choices that she might never get her memory back. But he needs to do it to kind of like put things to rest and to right things. So he's making sacrifices too. It's really good. It's a really good fic. If you love Sam and you love
back?
She does. She does get her memory back. Happy ending. It is a happy ending, but there's a lot of angst, you know, going through it and stuff. She does get her memory back. Does that make you feel better? She does get her memory back. Okay. Then the other one I just wanted to toss in there because this is something I know Kasey has read. And it's not throughout the whole story doesn't revolve around it. Again, mine don't necessarily revolve around it either. It's just a plot device within the overarching story.
Yeah.
But Runaway Dreamer, in her Sandman verse, part 1 of Sandman verse, which is very traumatic, and a lot of things are happening in that. Memory is wiped. I don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit, like the first part of Sandman verse, like
yeah. So it's tell him that his lonesome nights are over, and it's also addressed in part 3, which is Bring Me a Dream. Which so basically the plot of it is that when Sam was soulless, he used the spell to like sex swap Dean to give him female genitals and raped him. I think it only happened the once, but like quite extensively, like brutally, but not violently, if that makes sense. But it's a spell, and it's extremely manipulative, and it takes away Dean's naturally it takes away Dean's ability to consent. But it's all very tied into Dean's arousal, and it, you know, it's really quite difficult to read. So if you are planning on going to read the Sandman verse, just be aware that the first part of it, the flashbacks, are quite difficult to read. And you know me, you know how much I love Soulless, and I nearly noped out of some of those flashback scenes. They're very, very difficult. But as we find out in part 3, Cass comes to Dean when the spell is over and offers to take his memories, and Dean says yes. So Dean then he has his memories of his
the revelation though, when it finally all happens again too, it's so,
I think
it's a journey. You go on a journey with these two. Yeah,
you do go on a journey. But I don't know if Sam had his memories. He might have had his memories removed when his soul was given back, or maybe Castiel took his memories. It's been a minute since I've read the first part of Sandman. But Sam starts having these dreams about what Soulless did. And
so he's not even sure, like, you know, he's like, what is going on? Yeah.
He's not 100% sure what's happening. He doesn't particularly remember, but he finds these dreams very arousing, and then he's having trouble reconciling that because they're so brutal. And he that Soulless made a tape, and Sam finds the tape, plays it, is horrified by what he sees, but Dean overhears the tape. and then Dean remembers.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to like, they were not romantically involved before that point.
Right.
But kind of like both of them getting their memories back, these revelations, they become romantically involved. And there's a lot of dealing with the trauma of, you know, having consent removed and things like that. And Dreamer takes you on a fucking, it's such a good story. And the story continues after that point and it goes in places. But yeah, it's a really interesting look at, you know, like mind wipe more than Amnesia, I think. And things like that. But just like, you know, it would be remiss of me not to warn y'all, if you haven't read Dreamer's Sandman verse, just be aware the first section, the flashbacks are fucking brutal. They are very difficult to read.
It's funny because you say mind wipe, I say amnesia, but like to me it's like it all kind of like goes together, you know, like in one way or another.
Yeah,
like,
it's all different facets of the same thing. It's just the
semantics of how it happened, right? Like it's just like, you know, that kind of a thing. But no, it's definitely a journey. There is a happy ending. There's many happy endings throughout it. It's a series, so I think you kind of have to very, very layered and very
and
very
Dreamer
emotional.
really fucking
you know,
she takes you to the worst places, but then she brings it back again, and it's a very the whole series it's very push and pull with Sam and Dean about what they need and who they are, and you know, she really gets into the nitty-gritty with it. It's so fucking good. Like, if you haven't read it already, what are you doing with your life, frankly? Go read it. Just be aware, you know. The first bit's a bit hard, but after that, it's nice. It's nice. It's not better after that.
So I think too, like what we're going to do is, if you aren't already part of our Discord server, come join our Discord server, because I'm going to share some of the fic recs in our listening booth and channel in there from some of our members. They filled out a handy dandy fic rec form. We got quite a few from Jackie. Jinkies, would you look at this? We got one from Amy Pond. We got a bunch from Fictional Lemons, big surprise, and JDL. So we've got, and I can see why Casey's like, nope, because there's a fic that was wrecked twice that is directly related to Regarding Dean, but it was wrecked twice, two different people. So obviously,
in that case, I'm sure it's excellent. I'm sure it's excellent, but I will not be. I will not be taking it. Will not be. But I'm sure they're all excellent. And honestly, if two different people wrecked the same thing, any of the trope, I would be face deep in that shit. Like honestly, I kind of want to go and read it just because two different people wrecked it, and I'm like, well, shit, it must be the bomb. But I respect my mental health better than that,
and that's important, right? So,
and the fact that I have access to the Google form responses is entirely irrelevant.
Oh goodness. At the end of all this, you could probably deduce the fact that Casey is a no. And I am very much a yes, please. I do enjoy this. I use it with the understanding that I understand it, again, for me, plot device wise, like how other people like would use it for nefarious reasons in the storyline, but then how you've got sort of like, you know, the knight in shining armor, you know, like that kind of thing, like all that stuff kind of like just works for me in this kind of a situation. So that's how I kind of perceive it.
It very much plays into how you write Dean, certainly, as that, you know, the martyr and the, you know, fully willing to throw himself on the pyre. So I can totally see, why you're like, oh my god, this place. Like I've got to say, I didn't have any problems reading the scene in Some Sunny Day or the part in Wash, Rinse, Repeat. It didn't trigger me in any way. And reading Sandman, the bits that triggered me were not the bits that did, or not the fact that Dean and Sam didn't remember. It was the very brutal rape. You know,
I think it just gives an indication of like how people can use it, you know. And sometimes, like, because I mentioned it to Dreamer, I'm like, well, Dreamer, I'm like, you've kind of used this, and she was like, oh yeah, I guess, you know, I have, because again, like, I think people think mind wipe and they don't think, but someone's no longer has the memories that they did have, so that in and of itself, you know, you could say if it's temporary amnesia or however you want to classify it. And again, I'll say it again, there's probably situations or instances where people have not tagged this in their fics unless it's like the main event of it, but still, if it has that part
So
in
I looked at Dreamers, and all I could see in her tags was mind manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see anything about amnesia or memory loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I might mention that to her.
Yeah.
I don't know if you tagged for it in your stuff.
I don't remember. I feel like I did in Wash, and I probably did in The Hunter Who Loved Me. I feel like I did it in some I must have done memory in some aspect. I feel like in The Hunter Who Loved Me, but because that was a big plot point in that story. You know, it happened towards the tail end of it, but it was a big deal. So yeah, but if I didn't, I'm going to go back and make sure I did. Again, we always learn new things when it comes to, I know I feel like I do with tags and tropes. Like, you know, do I need to go back? Do I need to revisit? Should I consider tagging? It's important.
It's an art, not a science, isn't it? And everyone does it just a little bit differently. So I'm now an update on the robin. I'm not entirely convinced it is a robin.
Okay.
It may in fact be a leaf in the tree. And the reason that I say that is because it hasn't fucking moved. It hasn't fucking moved.
I feel like you needed to look at something else quite. You're like, I need to focus on anything.
Maybe I manifested a robin. But it hasn't moved from the tree, and it is the wrong time. But it is the wrong time of year for like brown, red leaves. It is summer here, so I'm not sure, frankly.
Yeah,
I don't know. But if anyone was really fucking invested in the robin, I'm not sure if it's real. Okay. Sorry, guys.
So it might update at some point later on. So yeah, who knows? Maybe before the end.
If I look back at it later and it's not there, I'll put an update in the description. I'll be like, Sandra, the robin left. It was a robin. I think it's the right time of year for robins anyway.
Oh my gosh.
I have a problem. Sorry, guys. Do you have no idea the urge? I want to go into my fucking backyard, walk up, like leave my backyard and walk up to where this tree is to find out if it's a fucking robin or not.
Well, you'll have time if we finish this episode.
Yeah, Case, if you shut up, you can go and find out about your fucking robin, that's fair enough.
This was another episode. I've got a few more ideas lined up. We will see how they go down the line. But
and if you join our Discord, you could also recommend Tags and Tropes. Link in the description.
So, Amnesia, no for Kasey, yes for me. Thank you for listening. Let us know what you thought of the episode. You can email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. Comment on Spotify in the Q&A section. Leave a YouTube comment. Join our Discord and chat with fellow idlers and us in real time. Check out our merch store. It's another fun way to show your support. You can find details for everything on our website. That's idlingintheimpala.com. Want to fuel our supernatural road trip? Consider joining us on Ko-fi for as little as $1 a month. We have perks to go along with different membership tiers and would love to have you along for the ride.
Speaking of perks, we've got special shout-outs for some of our Ko-fi members. From our Shotgun Picks and Music tier, we've got Runaway Dreamer, Crowley's Mistress, Sam and Dean 76, and Elia. From our own Mrs. Butters tier, we've got Charlie. Thanks for picking the tunes in the car and keeping the lights on in the bunker. Support like yours keeps our podcast going. Thanks. Don't forget, you can always support us for free by liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, and following, rating, and sharing on audio platforms. Engagement like that really helps us with the algorithms. All hail their benevolence. As always, we have the causes that we support in the description. So from me, you have LGBTQ plus talking charities. From Sandra, you have mental health charities. And of course, the main causes that we are always highlighting, championing, spotlighting are World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. At time of recording, World Central Kitchen are boots on the ground in Texas, helping the communities that have been affected by the horrible floods that have happened over the last couple of weeks. So, if you wanted to be supporting a cause that was close to home, if you're in the US, World Central Kitchen is great. But we are always going to be championing and supporting them because, they work all around the world and what they do is invaluable. But if you want to know more about them, about the other causes that we have, why we're supporting them, what they mean to us, check out idlingintheimpala.com. There's a page there called Causes Cause with all the details. So with that, we will say thank you for joining us in the back seat, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.